KXLY4 is getting answers to your questions about why a Spokane Sheriff's deputy shot and killed Valley businessman Scott Creach. Your thoughts and concerns number in the hundreds on our website. And tonight, we're hearing from Creach's family as well as law enforcement experts. KXLY4's Jeff Humphrey is live at the Public Safety Building. And Jeff, the first question, why didn't this deputy let Mr. Creach know that he was going to be in the parking lot at all?
Well, Robin, the sheriff says it would be impractical for sheriff's deputies to call each business that's going to benefit from a prowl check through the course of an evening, but this was a very unique situation with Mr. Creach living right next door to his commercial property that was often the victim of crime. Other questions on KXLY.com focus on who was the aggressor in this deadly incident. Was Mr. Creach legally required to disarm himself once Deputy Herzl had identified himself as an officer?
He gave orders to Mr. Creach to drop the weapon, that he was a police officer, to drop the weapon. He said that 4 or 5 times, maybe 6 times. Mr. Creach answered a few times, saying he didn't have to.
Spokane County Prosecutor Steve Tucker says all of us have to obey law enforcement commands, whether we're standing on our own property or not.
The way to deal with that, and there's classes for this, are that you make yourself the least amount of threat possible. So if that means putting the gun down until the officer knows who you are, that's a reasonable expectation.
However, Scott Creach's son insists that his father was not a threat, especially since he had tucked his gun inside his waistband.
If my dad had his gun and put it behind his back, then at that point, and I'm surprised that he did, but at that point, you know, I consider that a holstered gun.
Viewers also question why it was necessary for Deputy Herzl to hit Creach with his baton now that the gun was no longer in Creach's hands.
When you come to a point where you're willing to de-escalate, it's not reasonable to then begin to attack your opponent.
Herzl has told investigators the baton strike was a last-ditch effort to fully disarm Creach without shooting him. It'll be up to Spokane's prosecutor to decide if Herzl's use of force was justified.